Honey, where are my
Studs!
On my end, that sounded like a horrible voice crack.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Where Are My Studs podcast, late night edition, at least for me and Aidan. I am Brendan,
And I'm Aidan.
as previously stated. Exactly. This episode, we will be covering the magical world of LEGO conventions. Hooray! But first, Aidan, how was your week?
Well, I think we are both going to sound a little less excited about cons than we are because we're both very tired. Because in the past week, I just got back from a camping trip like 6 hours ago, and I have a combined 18 hours of sleep across like the past 4 nights, so I'm a little exhausted, but ready, and it was a great time. It was a great time. But how about you, Brendan?
I started working again this week, so that's good for money, but sad for free time.
Everything else?
Yeah, so I'm just, as we'll, I guess, later go into it, but pre-conventions is a little stressful because you're just trying to get everything done, and also you're just eagerly kind of waiting for the convention to arrive. But on the bright side, I did build 2 Lego sets this week. When I returned to work at my undisclosed work location, I found the Jedi Bob's Starfighter, which I was just like, oh, that's not supposed to be out yet. But then I bought it, and I was thinking about returning it because I didn't really want to spend the money on it, but I ended up keeping it, made a video on it. It's a pretty good set. Pretty happy with it. And then I come home later that day to a package from the Daily Bulge guys. This was a birthday present that I had no idea about, that all the Aidan and Ryan and Garrett and all my friends apparently bought me. And they got me the Kraken Attackin' from 2009, the Lego Pirates set. So I built that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, besides the 10 brown pieces that shattered.
It was supposed to be a pipe bomb. We sent you the wrong package on accident.
Is that what that is? But it's definitely made me, after I built it, I was like, shoot, I guess I'm really going to be trying to maybe look for some of the pirate sets at a brick fair.
Also, sorry to interject because this is like not on topic what you just said at all. We did mention in the last podcast that we would be having a guest on this episode, and that was the plan until a certain somebody slept through an alarm. Not going to name names, but it's not me.
I did not sleep through that alarm. I will repeat it.
You're right. You slept through 2 alarms, not just one.
I did. Yeah, I was really mad. I was really excited to record. I woke up so angry.
No, it's all right. Our guest wasn't too upset about it, and he's going to be on probably next episode, if not the one after that. So
yeah, we'll see.
It's all going to work out. But if you were wondering why I didn't have a guest, that is why. The guest did not die or anything that we know of.
Oh, man. But, yeah, anyways, I got that pirate set, so now, while going to Brick Fair, I'm more like, I feel more pressured to try to find those 2009 pirate sets so I can eventually make a video on them.
Staying in the vein of pirates, also in the last week, I've been rewatching the Pirates of the Caribbean films. And what do you mean, oh no?
Like, oh no, are you gonna like spend money on Lego now?
What do you mean? I spend money on Lego. I just don't overbuy things like someone.
Whoa, what are you trying to insinuate? Hold on.
I'm not talking about how much you buy it. I'm talking about the price you buy it at. I look for deals. You're just like, I want this. This is $50 above the market value. Let's just.
Yeah, but guess what? I get it instantly, and then I'm happy.
I mean, I guess
one of us has all the Indiana Jones sets and the other doesn't. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. How much money did you spend on all of that combined?
I mean, a lot. a lot.
I mean, I texted you. I did the math. Like, I bought a ton of indie sets in the past year, and I can't name them all off the top of my head. But basically, I got the Temple Escape and the Temple of Doom, and then if you, like the way that the math works out, I basically bought those two and then got all of the other sets for free. And like some of the other sets are like the Green Plain set, the Last Crusade boat canal, which I still need to build, the Shanghai Chase. So to each their own. I part of the fun for me is looking for deals, and if that's just not fun for you, then I guess just go ahead and just get stuff when you want it, even if it's not the best price.
No, like I look for deals to an extent. I rarely overpay for those indie sets. Besides, maybe if they're at Atlanta Brick Co. And the only reason I'll overpay for that is because of the quality and convenience of it. But online, I typically have like a limit. I'll typically go. I can go market value, but like Peril in Peru, for what it's worth, this was a present. But Peril in Peru and the Crystal Skull, my partner got me, and she got Peril in Peru for like 150 sealed, and
That's
she
crazy,
got
actually.
Crystal Skull 250 sealed.
That's really good, actually.
Yeah, so some of them.
So
some
she's
of
a
them
better deal hunter than you, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I found the Crystal Skull and sent it to her because I know I already, it was a Christmas present. I knew she was probably gonna try to buy it for me, so I saw it on eBay and was like,
Oh, I thought
hey.
you just like texted her and was like, "Buy me this now."
No. It was near Christmas, and I already knew she was gonna try to probably get that set because it was the main thing I wanted. So I said, hey,
No,
listen.
that's valid though.
But
But wait, circling back around to the Pirates, because I want to bring something up that I think is gonna make you mad. I truly think the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, like the original trilogy, might be better than the Indiana Jones original trilogy.
yeah, man, it's okay to have wrong opinions, but
That's
I mean,
my saying. You don't get to take
the
that.
Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy's good, but like, it needs to know its place. It's not as good as Indy.
I think it's also different because Indy has like each movie you could just watch it on its own, but the Pirates is kind of more of like a traditional trilogy in the sense of like it's a progressive story across 3 films.
Sure, I don't like. I think the Pirates trilogy is freaking awesome. I
Lego
love
sets
to.
did them dirty.
Oh my! I mean, how many? There's 3 Lego sets, not including the Black Pearl. Like, how did we
Yeah.
never get a Flying Dutchman?
To be fair, that would be actually. I feel like that's a set we could see now, with like how detailed sets are getting. But back in the day, I don't think Lego is gonna mess with that at all.
Well, no matter what, I agree. The fact that Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy got Indiana Jones from 2023. They only got 3
Yeah.
sets. Which, I mean, and honestly, can I be honest? I don't even think the 3 sets are that good. I think the windmill's pretty solid. Or not the windmill, what is it
No,
called?
it is. It is the no. Wait,
It's not it's like a water mill.
it's oh yeah, watermill.
Whatever. That set's really good. And I think that the Cannibal Chase is decent. But the final duel between Jack
Isla
Sparrow,
de Muerta.
yeah, that set is kind of good. No, that set could have
No,
been
it's
a
not.
lot better.
The figs carry that set so hard, and so actually one of the first videos I want to do when I like start making videos again, which will probably be this fall, is I'm gonna get the Black Pearl, or at least most of it, from a friend at Virginia this year, and then complete it. So I'll actually have all of the pirate sets based on the original trilogy, and I want to do like a retrospective on that. And
Yes,
I
would
still
so
think
watch that.
they could have enhanced the figs in that set even for what it was at the time. But I have a lot of thoughts on those sets, but we can save that for another episode or just for the retrospective. But speaking of deals and Pirates of the Caribbean sets, because I've gotten both at LEGO conventions, let's go ahead and hop into LEGO conventions. We could start by talking about, do you want to talk about like how much it costs first to do everything, or do you want to talk about like sequentially,
Well,
like the order of a con?
Okay, we should do cost after because we need to hype up the con first. So first of all, let's go ahead and acknowledge that Brick Fair, from the time of recording this, is 4 days away. Wednesday.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
4 days.
wow, that is, and like I don't know, at least to me, I mean, I love Lego conventions more than the average guy, but like it's literally like borderline the highlight of my year. Not completely, but it's easily top 3 things I look forward to every year.
I'd agree with
Um,
that.
Specifically Virginia, very specifically. So that's just very soon. I'm very excited. It makes going to work so much harder though, because I am just biding my time till I get on that flight and get the convention season started. So, yeah, I guess I think it's a good idea. Let's basically, just if you don't know, I guess a Lego convention is where a bunch of people bring mocks to display, and they display them for a few days and then go home. And that's the very very broad terms of a Lego convention. But there's so much more to that. And yeah, and I actually agree. We should go into it in order of like how a convention goes. At least maybe like for us at least.
Yeah. And I think me and you might even have different experiences with like certain aspects. Because I've brought a mock to almost every con I've been to. The only one I didn't was Atlanta in this past February. And like you said, like with work before you go to a con, for a mock builder, it's the builds you procrastinated until the last minute that you're trying to finish, which I'm dealing with right now. I haven't even started on one of my builds, and it's 20 by 40 studs, and I basically have 3 nights to finish everything. So that's where I'm at right now. So you're just like waiting to get there. Honestly, I wish I had one more day because it's gonna be tight getting it all done in time, but I think I can do it. But the pre-convention hype is honestly one of the best parts of the con. Like, it's something that I look forward to because you know that you're going, at least for me and you, like, you basically know you're going in 9 months in advance, so you like kind of have something to look forward to for a long time. And it's friends that you only get to see in that circumstances for a lot of people. So I really actually enjoy part of the con experience being the pre-convention hype.
Yeah, it's like Christmas. Like part of the best part, my favorite part of Christmas is the lead up to Christmas, just the hype and stuff. Yeah, I mean like to me a convention is just the best vacation ever. You basically, me and Nathan have talked about this by ourselves. It's basically like when you get off the plane or get out of your car, but especially if you fly there, it's like being sucked into another world in the sense that a lot of your stress is gone from your normal life. You're just really focused on the then and like there, and it's just very relaxing, just pure joy. And it's just surrounded by like all these awesome people, and if you really like Lego, it makes it even better. Like the convention's so good because it serves as a base to just hang out with your friends, and then you can leave and come back almost at any point during the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. And another part that's really fun about it is like if you're somebody who like doesn't have anybody that's on the same level with you of like your love for Lego, and that goes for like any hobby that has a convention. And then when you go to it, suddenly you can just like talk about things with other people that you usually like nobody cares about, and that's like another fun part of it that's really fun to like just be around people with a similar interest.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, like what's the average convention? You just want to talk about last year's, I guess, or like what order? Or like...
Yeah, I guess so. To preface this, I've went to Brick Fair, Virginia since 2019, so that's gonna be my most, I guess, dominant con in like my experiences. But I also attended Brickworld Chicago as my first convention in 2018, and then also last year in 2023, and then Atlanta BrickCon this past February in 2024. So which cons have you attended, Brendan?
So I've went to Virginia since 21 every year. I went to Chicago in 23 as well, and then I went to Atlanta both 23 and 24.
And I feel like Atlanta's the most different from those. And we can get into that a little bit, but since we're leading up to Brick Fair,
Yeah.
it's probably the one I draw off the most. But average con, on I guess on the way getting there, we've both drove and flown to a con, and those are two very different experiences. Um, what's your take on the driving versus flying aspect?
So this also depends on listener where you're located compared to where the convention is located, but I'm 10 hours away from Virginia. So normally I fly, but last year I was going to drive with my friend Ethan, but Ethan decided to get sick. So I wasn't able to drive with him and had to drive by myself, which was scary. But I did it and everything was good. The difference between flying and driving is crazy. I don't love, like, I like flying, but I kind of just view it as an inconvenience. Like, it's just such a hassle getting into the airport. Okay, gotta make sure I get my suitcase above into the luggage compartment and everything. It's just like, I don't like flying. I find it stressful. I find it annoying. Driving, while it took a lot longer, it was kind of nice having a ton of control over the situation. You know, I didn't have to worry about basically anything. The only thing I had to worry about is, okay, every 3 hours, stop, get gas, use the bathroom, get a drink. And that was really nice, is to really be in control of literally everything. However, that can go very wrong, because with driving, if something's wrong with the car, it's your problem. With flying, if there's an issue with the plane, it's not your problem. You just get to sit there. So beware of driving. But I enjoy driving, I think, more, but I know it's way more inconvenient, expensive, and less smart to do than flying.
Really, driving's more expensive for you?
I mean, my flight this year was only like $200 something. It wasn't that much.
How much is gas by you?
I mean, if you're filling up there and back, last year I probably paid around 200. I mean, maybe it's cheaper, but and this depends on what car you have, but there is a risk with driving that far, in the sense of pop a tire, your car starts getting screwy, you get into a car crash, God forbid. There's just, in my opinion, way more risk than just getting on a little airplane and flying, and then you're there in 2 hours.
Well, I think ultimately this also breaks down to your general travel preferences. Like, it's honestly kind of just like any other vacation when it comes to flying or driving. I personally prefer flying, just in general, for most vacations anyways, but especially Lego cons, as long as I'm not bringing a huge mock, which I've done flying. I brought a 6 gray base plate, which is like 2 feet by 4 feet, and I had to get that into a suitcase, and that was awful. So if you're bringing a mock, I recommend driving if you can. So the problem for me is Virginia is a 24-hour drive from where I'm at. So I typically don't drive to Virginia, but last year I did, because I was living in Wisconsin for the summer, and I picked up a friend along halfway, and that was really fun. So if you can drive with somebody to a con, yep, actually, the listeners should know who that is, actually, because it's the one guest we've had on. But if you can drive with somebody, it's really fun. So I would recommend that. But if you're by yourself, I mean, I just always have loved flying. It's actually, like, I've told people this before, and they like think I'm weird. So I want to know your take on this, Brendan. But like, the most peaceful place in the world for me is like on an airplane up in the sky, especially if it's night. Like, which is like crazy when you think about it, because you're like hurling through the air at 400 miles an hour, and like something could go wrong and you could crash down. But like, nothing's expected of you. You get to like just chill and like watch a movie or something, and it's like totally fine. And that's fun for me. But also another aspect of it that I really like, especially for cons, is like, instead of being like slowly acclimated into like this new environment, like getting to the con, you're just suddenly there, and it's like you almost got like teleported or transported.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's
and I really like
me and
that.
you've discussed that. I 100% agree. That's like one of the biggest benefits of flying, is you get on the plane and you know when you get out of it next, you are going to be transported to the world of a Lego convention, of just pure fun, stress-free enjoyment. I 100% agree with you on that. Although, don't agree with you at all about the Okay, I should clarify. I don't have a
Do you fly
fear
Frontier?
Of flying.
Do you fly Frontier? Is that why it's not peaceful for you?
No. Flying, I have no issue. I literally skydived. I don't have a fear of like being in a plane or falling or heights. My stress with flying is purely more practical of just the kind of inconvenience of it all.
I just
So
hate not having leg room. If I have leg room, I'm fine. But
yeah, well, I don't I don't ever have leg room.
yeah,
It's just like all the other stuff. I don't know. I don't hate flying. I do it, but I do agree with your point of it's very enjoyable. The fact that when you're at the airport, you know you are 100% on your way to the thing you kind of hype up all year till it ends. It's literally like Christmas.
and it makes it feel like a more separate experience from your everyday life too.
I agree with that 100%. I 100% agree with that. Yeah. Flying or driving is, I mean, for what it's worth, it's not that big of a deal. But driving definitely does make it feel more it makes it feel more connected to your real life. This
Hmm.
is such a weird way of putting it, but you feel more like you actually experience the full distance to get there, so it feels like home's not that far away. I don't know. I don't know if this is all making sense to whoever's
No,
listening.
that's probably like a better way to put it into words. What I was trying to say, like, it's weird because this doesn't just apply to Lego conventions. This applies to everything. Like, I just love flying because it's like suddenly you're like just in a different world. It feels like instead of like a different part of the world, which is what driving almost feels like.
Yeah.
But now moving on in your Lego convention experience, you've landed slash arrived at the con, and then if it's your first year, you probably don't know people super well. So actually, we should talk about that from that point of view, like arriving at your first con. Do you remember arriving at your first con?
Oh, how could I forget? So, my first con, like I said, was 2021. Um, I knew I was always going to go to Brick Fair eventually, but luckily I had a few friends by that point. Jay, Shane, hell, even David Hall. But I didn't know that many people in the convention, so I got an Uber, got to the convention, and this I feel like this experience has to be the same for everyone. But tell me if I'm wrong, Aiden. When you first get to the con, you go inside, you you awkwardly are like, it's okay. Do you know that feeling of like when your friends or family or let's yeah. Do you know that feeling of when your friends get to a restaurant before you do and get a table and they tell you, "Oh, we're sitting over here." So you have to go in and awkwardly kind of look around while you feel like they're looking at you.
That's actually exactly how it feels. That's a great description of it.
That's exactly how it feels when you first get in cuz you're like, "All right, I look so out of place. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am. I'm literally, you know, across the country by myself fending for myself and it's a whole entire new experience. But it's not necessarily bad. It's just nervous. It's nerve wracking. And but you find your lug that you're displaying with, hopefully. And if you already have friends made, then hopefully you see them. But in my case, which I'm thankful for this, I did not. My friends had not arrived at the convention yet. I only knew one guy, Nolan, Brickopotamus, I believe is his username.
Yep.
And thank God for Nolan. Never been more appreciative for him till then, because he was like, "Oh, hey, man." I'm like, "Oh, thank God, someone to talk to." um, and it's just it's very awkward settling down first because I introduced myself to Blaine and I'm like, "Hey, I'm displaying this mock. I kind of know Matt and all this." And it's also kind of awkward because a lot of people already know each other and kind of not maliciously at all, but are kind of into their own groups almost. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's not malicious. I mean that in the most like they're not being jerks way. It's just
Yeah,
natural.
it's just people they're friends with like for the last 4 years, and like all of a sudden you're a new person. Like it's just like
Yeah.
if you transfer to a new school, like it's the same experience for a little bit.
Yeah, and then luckily eventually my friends came in, and then by the second day of the convention you just start talking to everyone. You just naturally start talking to other people and it gets better. What about you? What was your first convention experience going and displaying?
Well, okay, well, how old were you when you went to your first con?
I was 18. No, my bad. I had just turned 19, but I had just graduated because I graduated at 18. Yeah. So,
Oh, yeah, because your birthday's in the summer, hence your birthday
yeah.
being 2 weeks ago. But my first con, I was 14, so very different already, and my dad was with me. So we drove up to Brookwood, Chicago, and I had like this massive Scarif that I built because everybody built Scarif back in 2016.
Of
Actually, no, it
course.
was 2018. But so I was like a year late to the party. But I remember arriving and like getting into the hall and looking around, seeing how huge it was, and that's honestly almost like a core memory for me. Like that was like I feel like going at that age, it's just a lot more like awe-inspiring experience. And like at that age too, I was more like enamored by the people who had more subs and stuff like that. So pulling up that time was a little different. I had like some online friends, but we weren't like incredibly close. Like we had our own 15-year-old Star Wars slug. That was a ton of fun back in the day. Rip beta lug. But yeah, I just remember like very vividly pulling up and like backing the car into the con hall and pulling out the mock and setting it up. And like when you go when you're that age, one, you have a lot less money to spend when you're there. And two, it's like a lot more about the like builds and showing off your mock and that experience and the community aspect. And that's kind of like how you start building the community, like not even like consciously, it just kind of happens that way. Like I still um like there's friendships I built at that con that I still have to this day. And that's what, 6 years ago now. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
see 3 or 4 people from that con in Virginia, which is crazy. Um, but there's also
You wait. You
like
said this is Brick World 2018, right?
2018, yeah, so that's six
Okay.
years ago.
Okay.
But I remember showing up to my first con by myself, and that's an entirely different experience. So I went to Brick Fair 2019 with my parents as well, and that's where I met Garrett and Ryan, who is like
Did you
some of
say
my
Brick
best
Fair
friends now.
2019?
Yep, Brick Fair Virginia 2019.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't. I'm stupid. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah,
Continue.
no, you're good. So basically, as long as COVID didn't happen, there's not been a year I haven't been at a Lego Con. The only year I didn't was 2020, and that's because there wasn't any Lego Cons. But I built those friendships towards the end of the week, and then Garrett texted me before 2021. I think I was 17. Yeah, I was 17 at the time, and he was like, "Yo, we're going to Virginia again this year. Do you guys want to room with us?" And I remember trying to convince my parents to like just let me go by myself, and they finally caved.
Real. Real.
And wait, did you try to go earlier?
We can talk about it.
Like when you
Continue.
were
I
younger?
love. I love
Okay.
hearing about this.
Um, and that was like one of the first times I'd like ever traveled by myself. Like getting on the plane, like it was the most freedom I've like probably ever felt and ever will feel. Like just
Mm-hmm.
getting on the plane, arriving, having like these friends from the internet pick me up. Like I had met Garrett and Ryan in real life, but some of the other people not that we were in a room with. And
Who? Aiden
that
and
was
Josh,
just
or Ethan and Josh?
yeah, Ethan and Josh I hadn't met yet, but I talked to them online. Um, and then like that's how like our core friend group is got built up. Like like I just like imagine like alternate timelines. Like if my parents said no, like then I didn't go that year. Like who knows if I'd even would have gone to a Lego Con in the last like 3 or 4 years at
That
all.
alternate
But
history depresses me. I actually don't like thinking about it.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, like seeing how things led up to your life, and because like this is like way more philosophical than a Lego podcast needs to be. But I think it's cool, like seeing like where things went just right in your life, because we always see the places where it just went just wrong, like just barely went wrong. So seeing the place where it just barely went right is cool. But anyways, that led to like some of the most freedom I've had in my life. That was like my favorite con up until this past year, last year's Virginia. But having that experience of just like the solo travel experience for the first time was really fun and just a really freeing experience. So,
Yeah.
very different from when I showed up at 15, but it almost felt like a second first time.
So, two things. You asked if I had tried to go earlier. I want to mention three things. One thing that I noticed immediately is, and this is gonna make me seem so dorky, but I used to love watching convention vlogs. I mean, I'm talking about like Lego Buff Productions old Brickworld Chicago vlogs, and like when Ryan used to vlog the conventions. Like I would watch that stuff religiously.
Me too.
I love those
I still
vlogs.
love them.
I still do, but it's different, obviously, because I go to
it's
it and
100% different.
I'm in the vlogs now.
And that's a trippy feeling too.
But anyways, so when I got to Brick Fair, I just remember like being like, there's a few things. I've had online friends for a long time. I have real life friends as well. You should mention that, but I've had online friends for since 2014, since I was literally like 12. So, but this was the first time I was ever meeting any of them in person, and that's just a really weird feeling. Is I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna see people that I've seen on YouTube in real life, like Ryan or Matt, and that was just something that when I got to the convention, I was just like, oh wow, this is the convention I've watched vlogs of, and I'm here in real life, and like I remember thinking the convention looked different in real life. I was like, oh, it's a little bit more dim and stuff. I don't know, small stuff. The other thing is, yes, I'd been wanting to go to Brick Fair since I was probably like 15, if not younger. And the thing that we'll talk about later is conventions are expensive. And my little kid version of myself was not about to be able to pay for Brick Fair or Brick World. If Atlanta had happened, that would have been a different story, but wasn't happening back then. So yeah, but I remember always the most nerve-wracking part is, especially before you turn 18, is I was like, how would I? Because I don't want to go with my parents. I never wanted to. I wasn't going to. I was always gonna try to convince my parents to just let me go by myself.
Let me go meet this guy on the internet, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically what it is.
Honestly, even when I was freshly 19, again, I had just graduated high school. So while I was technically a legal adult, I was still living with my parents and was still pretty reliant on them. So it was very similar to me that I had freedom. Like I've gone on vacations with friends and stuff, but like going to the convention in 2021 was also, again, kind of like the same for me, where this was the most amount of freedom I'd ever experienced. I am on a plane by myself going to DC, completely self-reliant, and I love it. I love it so much. I still love it. Just complete independence. Just really, really fun.
Flying alone is just so much fun in its own. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's also fun because you're surrounded by this product and hobby that I love so dearly, and I'm just surrounded by it everywhere I look. And then I'm surrounded by people that also like it but are, also just cool on their own. So anyways, I guess, okay, so you get to the convention. What's next? You set up your mock or whatever.
Wait, hold up. I just wanted to get this in because I just thought of it. It's truly like the most break from life experience I think I've ever felt, because not only is your surroundings different and everything, but the people are entirely different from like, because like usually when you go on vacation, you like go with like a friend or two, or like your family. Like it's an entirely different group of people, so it's like the most separate experience you will probably get in your life, unless you like solo travel Europe or something.
And that's like why I like it, is it's such a break from life. It's like you put pause, I mean, to an extent, but you put pause on your real life, and you're separated. You don't worry about going to work. You don't worry typically that much about money. It's just completely separate. You're in this world, You know it's not going to last that long, and you just try to make the most of it.
But it still feels long. Like, it's still like, I mean, this year, me and you both are going to be there at Virginia Wednesday around like noon until like Monday at noon. Like, that's 5 full days that we're just gone, which is
Uh,
a long
yeah,
amount of time. I feel like it's the perfect amount of time, though.
I agree. I don't want it to be longer. I've done the whole entire going to a convention thing for a longer period of time, and it gets tiring.
Yeah, no, it's draining to be just gone from your routine for like a week or even longer.
hmm Okay, so after you get to the convention for maybe the first time, you go to your display table, lug table, set up, hopefully reconnect with friends or talk to some new people. Is there a specific like aspect of that you want to talk about, Aiden?
It's awkward. That's what I want to talk. It's really awkward for a bit. And honestly, like, it, the first year it wasn't awkward for me was this past year. Like, I had
Really?
known, yeah, like, I don't know. There's just like, even for me, always, this might just be a me thing, but like, when I haven't seen somebody in a long time, even if I'm close with them, like, the first 15 to 30 minutes you hang out is always like kind of weird because it's like, it's not like weird, but it's just like,
I okay.
it's like
Actually,
it's like
I
when
understand
you
what
show
you
up a
mean.
party on time and
I
everybody's
understand
like
what you
just
mean.
getting settled in. Yeah.
Oh, so can I be honest about something, Aiden?
Mhm.
That's how I felt when I first picked you up when you came over to my house.
No, that makes sense. Like, well, that's also inviting somebody into your like personal space that's basically from another world, as far as like your mind is convinced.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't take long for that ice. It's kind of like just getting an icebreaker almost. Like you got to break the ice. You gotta get back into your flow, and it's easy to do. It only takes a few minutes.
Yeah, you also
Although I
picked me
will
up at
say,
2 a.m., so that probably didn't help. But
I think after I definitely don't get that anymore, and I
no,
haven't.
not anymore.
I don't think I have since Atlanta Brickco 23. At least, like, I know for a fact I don't get that with Ethan or you at all.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
like now, like our friendships like just feel like normal friendships. They're not like online. Like I've stayed at your house, I've stayed at Josh's house, and like I'm
mhm.
hanging out with people outside of like from the Lego space. This is actually like one of the coolest things to like see happen over the progression of years. Is like when you meet friends at cons, and then it progresses to a point where you start hanging out outside of Lego conventions too, and like going and doing stuff, and that's just like a really fun experience too in its own right.
Uh, but I do understand it can be awkward. I remember Break Fair 2022, only my second convention. That was still a bit awkward. Was meeting and seeing all these people for the second time. Um, but I
Well,
remember
there's
by
always
Brick.
going to be new people too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like, even if you, so me and you have both been displaying with Empire Lug. Well, I've been displaying with them since 2019, you since 2021, and in every year,
Displaying.
like, yeah, okay, 1 year, no, 2 years you brought a mock, three. Actually, you've brought a. This will be the first year you haven't brought a mock. What do you mean?
To
Because
Brick
you
Fair?
brought one. Yeah, because 2021 you brought the Halo,
Oh
2022
yeah. Hey, good
Batman.
point.
Yeah. Wow, this streak's gonna come to an end. That's so sad.
All right, I'll build
But
something real quick.
anyways, yeah, just go ahead and put a set on a table, just like half the con does. Not anymore. But that used to be a problem. Oh, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves at a Lego con is like when I walk around. If it's like a little kid doing it, yeah, that's fine. But if you're like a 40-year-old man and like you built the Millennium Falcon playset and you just put it on a table, like you're wasting space. Like space at cons is tight now. Like there's not a lot of room for mocks because it's become a lot more popular, and that's such a waste of space.
I don't mind when people do it with retro sets and they like put out the entire theme, like all the retro pirate sets. I find that cool.
Yeah, that's like the like I can if half the con is that's a problem. If like pockets of it is like that, that's cool. But like if you're buying sets off like sets you can get at Target and Walmart right now, and then you just go and put it
Yeah.
on a table, do not be that person. Like it's just taking up so much space that could be used for things people actually created on their own. And when you're collecting retro sets, it's also like a little more of like something that you did because you had to like go in and find all of them and like go out and purchase all of them versus just buying a 501st battle pack and putting it on a table. Again, if it's a little kid, entirely different. They're proud of what they built. But like if you're 40, like let's actually modular street setups can be cool. That's the other exception that and you see a lot of them, especially in train layouts. But back to talking about displaying with Empire Lug, like I'd say, what would you say? I'd say the people that like stay the same like from year to year is about 50%, and then the other 50% is new. Would you agree with that? Maybe 60-40.
60-40, yeah.
And that's also like, and in some years it's sad because like there's people that have gone for the past 3 years and they're not going to be there this year. Rip Levi and Axie.
Dalek.
Dalek hasn't been there in like 4 years.
I know, he's just the one I thought of.
Yeah. And that's like the sad part. But every con I've made a new friendship too. It's like another cool part. And there's like all these different, like you meet one person in a friend group and then you meet another person. It's a great networking practice too if you like want to get that. I wouldn't go for that as the sole thing, but it's fun to do and like talk to people that you usually like would never talk to. Like I had a 30-minute conversation with Michael or MKM Brick, and I never would have expected that last year, and that was just fun. But yeah, it's gonna be different every year, and like sometimes even like your closest friends aren't gonna be there, but just grow your circle like over the years, and like I don't feel like it would be as fun if it was the same people every year over and over and over. Like having new people I think is fun because like new perspectives, new things that you do, and it just adds to the experience for me.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely, that's something I've had to adjust to after the first 2 years, is learning to like enjoy the different groups of people at different cons at different years.
Yeah, and I've just seen some people like one of their friends doesn't show up, but like the other 5 are there, and they like just are like kind of devastated most of the con because sometimes it happens because like somebody gets sick or that, and I feel like it kind of ruins the experience. Like I mean, last year Ethan didn't show up, and that was really sad. And
Yeah.
like, oh, there's no way Ethan listens to this because he hates Lego now. So
It was okay. It didn't affect me that much. I was all right with it.
yeah, no, but like in the past years, I would have really let me get that down. But I also saw him at Brickworld, which I think helped me swallow that a little. But if I
Me
didn't,
too. I saw him at my house, so he got
that's
sick
true.
for
Yeah,
that.
you see him a lot. But yeah, if I didn't see him for a year, it would have been a little rough. But I was like, just like, oh, that sucks. And then I don't want to say I just like moved on because like I care about Ethan and I love the man. And that sounds horrible, but like you just kind of I'd be like if the same thing's gonna happen. Like even people just not getting sick. Like it's just not gonna work for people. Some years like people have internships and stuff at the age that we're at.
Yeah, you gotta
So-
learn to adjust with it and enjoy. I mean, listen, I can't sit here and say if all of Bulge Lug didn't go, that might be enough to get me down.
Yeah, like
But-
if your entire friend group's gone, yeah.
That's different. But if you have one person or 2 people missing, or there's certain people that went last year that aren't going this year, I still think it's a mindset thing. You can let that really get you, or you can try to adjust and talk to other people and work with what you have and then make the most of it. And this sounds so terrible, but Ethan's literally, I consider him like my best friend. He didn't show up last year, and yet it was still my favorite convention I've ever gone to, was Brick Fair 2023.
And I guess what we're really trying to say is like just go into each con not expecting a ton. Like just be really open to things to be different, because like if you have a great experience, like last year was my favorite con, and there's already people from that like really enhance that experience that I know aren't going, and just like allowing each con to be its own thing and not placing expectations on it to like live up necessarily to like the last year or anything, or like be the same. Like
Yeah.
each convention's gonna be very different, even if you go to the same one for like 10 years. Like there will be some stuff that stays consistent. Like Empire Lug has like a dinner every year, and that's always fun. When we get to go to that, but each year's gonna have its own ebbs and flows, and just enjoy each year as it's entirely different.
And
Is what
that's
I would recommend.
this is a pill I think me and you had to swallow the same convention of the same year. And can I go in and make a prediction that it was Brick Fair 2022? Listen, I've never had a bad Lego convention experience ever in my life. However, Brick Fair 2022 was just the least good out of probably almost every convention I've gone to. And that's not me trying to be negative on it. It was still an incredible time, all things considered. But I think the thing that dampened that convention for me was I had expectations. Break Fair 2021 was insane because I had no expectations for it. And then when I had all these super high expectations for 2022, a lot of them just kind of fell flat. I didn't, there was still some crazy cool stuff that happened, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't live up to the hype I had made it in my head. And then I go to Atlanta BrickCon, which I had the lowest expectations possible for that convention because Atlanta BrickCon 2023, I didn't even remember was happening till the day of. And that convention became one of my favorites. Point is, well,
No,
go ahead.
I agree with that entirely. I would also say Brick Fair 2022 is probably my least favorite, and that's all on me because of the expectations I had. Like, there's still fun stuff in it. Like, we did the Batman collab. Getting your first Beyond the Brick interview is always just a cool thing, no matter how old you are or how long it's been since you actually watched their videos.
I think we
It's
just
just a
tried to
fun experience.
over-engineer Brick Fair 2022.
I'd agree with that.
Me and you were trying to. I mean, all of us, but I definitely remember me and you were just trying to plan everything, trying to replicate 2021, and that's maybe a huge thing. Don't ever try to replicate the last convention. It doesn't work. It didn't work for me and you, and it hasn't worked for a friend of mine who tried to do the same thing, and he told me that was like, oh, it wasn't last year, and I'm like, yeah, it never is. And I think that's also. Oh, go ahead.
Just let those memories stand on their own too. Like, it's fun to try and relive stuff, and our group tries to get one lunch together every time, and that's our way of reliving. I think that we've kind of found the happy balance of, but go into it with not super solid concrete plans, I'd say. Like last year at Brick World, me and some of my friends were like, we think it'd be cool to go to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field, but we didn't even buy the tickets until the day of or the day before. And if you let it be more spontaneous, I feel like cons are more fun than if you have a rigid planned out schedule for all 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. You gotta let stuff go naturally. If there's naturally, like this year, okay, I will say, having, like you said, having small plans, make sure your friend group gets at least one dinner or one lunch in every year. That's fine. This year, I am 100% gonna go to Washington D.C. if it's the last thing I do. I've never gone to D.C. when I'm in Chantilly, and I'm going. But other than that, I'm really just keeping my expectations open. One of the things that also dampened 2022 for me was I was obsessed with trying to get more Indiana Jones sets because in 2021, which we'll talk about later, the whole entire indie stuff happened. And I ended up failing. I couldn't find any indie sets at the garage sale. And I remember that kind of bummed me out a little bit.
You got the Batcave that year though, right?
I did. And I was going to kind of say, but that's one of the biggest highlights of that year was the fact that I got the freaking Batcave.
Yeah,
and there was also some other 2022 was still good though. Remember the hot tub?
Yeah.
And me going no.
Oh yeah, it was
no.
it was fun. I'd still give it an 8 out of 10. It was still a lot of fun. It just there was moments in it that I've recognized okay, I was just trying to construct the moment too much and not letting it be its own thing. And just letting that go has allowed me to enjoy these past few cons a lot more. When I went to Atlanta in 2024, I had no idea what I was getting into because I knew it was going to be smaller than Brick World and Brick Fair, and I was only going Friday through Sunday. So that was already going to be a very different experience, and like half of our friend group wasn't there. And I just let it be its own thing, and that made it a lot more fun. Like we ended up going to like a volleyball game, and a lot of tomfoolery came from that. If you want to, you can check it out on the Daily
Dude,
Bulge Instagram. That was
Atlanta
so funny.
Such a good con. Atlanta was such a good con. It's I'm not gonna go too much in it because this is mainly Brick Fair based, but Atlanta was. That's where having different people made it better because it's such a different group of just less people and slightly different people. It just makes it where you're interacting with a whole entire another crowd that you don't typically interact with as much. So much fun. Oh my god, Atlanta is so much fun.
Well, and having a con that's not in the summer is also a very different experience. Like getting done with classes and then getting on a plane to go to a Lego convention is a very weird feeling that like almost felt wrong at first. But it was a lot of fun to like watch the Super Bowl with like Lego friends. Like I never thought I'd be doing that.
Really hope you
I
come
like that.
back.
I'm hoping it works out my schedule this year and other people's. But we briefly touched on it talking about the Batman and Indiana Jones sets. But most cons in the first 1 or 2 public days will have a yard sale. And I know that's one of your favorite parts of cons, so I'll let you go and take the floor with that to start.
Oh boy, the Lego collector in me loves. So this is literally one of the biggest highlights is I save up for cons. Specifically because very specifically Brick Fair has a massive yard sale. And what a yard sale is at a Lego convention is it's basically like people can rent a table and they'll just sell whatever Lego they got. That could be bulk pieces, that could be old sets. Typically it's old sets. And that's fun when it's a few tables. Like, and that's a lot of smaller conventions will have it and it's very tiny. But Brick Fair's yard sale literally spans the entire convention. I mean, there's got to be at least a couple hundred tables all around the con.
I'd say it's like 150, and it's those like tables that like every potluck that you go to has those like white foldable tables. It's like that size of a table.
And it's just the fact is if you save properly, you'll have money to spend and you don't know what you're going to find. And it's so much fun because that's where you go, what am I going to buy? What am I looking for? What do I want? Is that a good price? A lot of times you can find good bargain deals. It's awesome. It's incredible. That's where I bought my Lego Batcave for $400. Was a garage sale at Brick Fair. It's just such a fun experience, especially if you like retro Lego. Which, spoiler alert, me and Aidan really like retro Lego. So I know. I assume it's one of your favorite parts too.
Yeah, and it's super fun. Because, like, I've always liked the hunt and, like, looking for deals part of Lego, especially on older Lego. But I agree, like, the not knowing what you're going to get makes it way more fun. Like, I had the same exact thing in 2022 where I was looking for Indiana Jones sets and then it was super bumped out, like, when I didn't find any at all. 2022 just had nothing for Indiana Jones, now I think about it. Like, because last year I saw a ton of stuff at the yard sale, and the year before. That's, like, the one con that didn't have Indiana Jones sets, funnily enough, is the one I was looking.
Hey, it taught us a lesson. It was important.
Exactly. Like, I just, like, let myself look around, and, like, there's stuff that you probably never thought you'd be interested in. But, like, for example, this past year at Atlanta BrickCon 2024, I bought the 1999 Naboo Starfighter, and that got me into all the 1999 Lego Star Wars sets. Like, you'll just find stuff that you didn't think you cared about at all, and, like, there's stuff that you buy just because it's a good deal and you're like, let's see what this is about. And I found like some of my favorite themes and sets and minifigs that way. And that's like, and going through it with a friend is so much fun too. Like trying to find stuff for them. Even if they have similar tastes. Like
Yeah.
it ain't that deep at the end of the day. Like if I have a friend who also wants that set, I'm not gonna like fight him over it. It's not that deep and it ain't worth it. But
well, can I mention?
Yeah, go ahead.
So sorry to interrupt you, but I should mention two things. Part of the fun is also the intensity of the big yard sale, because you're just like you're scrambling. You're like, oh yeah, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. It's just so much fun walking around. but then you see something your friend wants, and you're like, oh, so you try to text him and call him, but of course he can't hear because it's so loud in there. So you're just like, oh, what do I do? And it's chaotic. But the real,
Yeah, finding stuff for other people is also so much fun. Like Josh last year, when we were driving up to Virginia, he was like, all right, there's like one indie set that I want. If you find that the Jungle Cutter is sealed, just text me or something, because he was selling at the yard sale. And then I literally, like, first 2 minutes of the yard sale, I walk up to the table and they have it sealed. And then I bought it for like 130, I think, which is like below.
What?
I think it goes like 200 sealed. Yeah,
what, you got that set for $130?
sealed.
Whatever.
I'll pull up the Venmo statement as I talk about it to see exactly how much I got it for. But I think it was around there. But like the excitement that I got of finding that set for Josh was like so much fun. And then I bought it and I ran over to yard sale table like, Josh, look what I got. And that was just a ton of fun. I had a blast with that.
The best part of this garage sale, though, easily, and this, at least in our experience, is building sets with your friends back at the hotel. There, in my opinion, is maybe no other feeling than when it's the end of the day, not the end of the convention, but it's the end of the day on like Friday or Saturday. You know, all your boys got at least something to build, and it's just you guys are chilling in the cold hotel room, vibing out, watching some stupid crap on TV, or just talking as you guys build Lego sets all at the same time. That is just that's a feeling that's unmatched. There's nothing, in my opinion, that can match that. You're with your friends that you don't get to see often. You're building your favorite, hobby. It's a incredible feeling, and that is something I think me and you both try to at least do at least once every con.
Yeah, and it attaches sentimental value to those sets for me too, and that's one of the reasons I love doing it. But I think it also speaks to like the con is never really like not fun for me. Like most other vacations I take with friends, like I'm an introvert, I need time by myself to recharge. But like even going back to the hotel room, it's always just like super fun hanging out with friends, even just in a hotel room or like watching a movie like with people you like get to see once a year and like hanging out. Like it never really stops being fun at a Lego convention.
Mm-hmm.
And also I found the Venmo, it was 140.
That's incredible. Building sets together in the hotel room. And I think that's honestly something we should touch on is the hotel room and the importance of staying with friends.
Yeah, that enhances it a lot. So I've actually gone to a con like with my family and stuff. So me and my dad went. It was just me and my dad in Breck Fair 2018, and I was a stupid 14-year-old. So looking back on it, I like probably should have spent more time with him. But I was just like so enamored by like everything going on and everything so fast, and I was a stupid teenager. But like rooming with friends is a very different experience because like when I room with my family those years, and then the second time I did it was Brick Fair 2019. It was my whole family, but it almost felt like, all right, Lego convention's on pause now. Like when you go back, but when you have like friends from the con that like you don't even have to be super close to them. Like 2021, I was not super close with everybody. I was like decently close, but it enhances the experience a lot because like the whole time you're basically like in con mode is like the best way to describe it.
You're getting your money's worth almost. It's like you're really making the most of this experience. And yeah, I agree with you. So I stayed with my friends Shane and Jay in 21, and I love them both dearly. But they both went to bed too fast, and it was upsetting.
and snored, right?
Yeah, Jay did snore, but
yep.
Yeah, man, just staying with friends changes things because you're 100% right. The con doesn't stop. It stops in the sense that it's less exhausting when you're back at the hotel room just chilling, but you're still surrounded by those people that you're there to see. So staying with your friends in my opinion, it makes a huge difference. I've never not stayed with my friends at a convention, nor will I ever.
It makes it cheaper too. That's one
Yeah,
of
it
the
makes
best
it
parts.
cheaper. But
We
it's
could talk
just
about
like,
getting a hotel room because that's like one of the worst parts of a con, in my opinion, is trying to figure out getting a hotel room.
yeah, specifically if you're with the Bulge guys because they suck at it.
You are included in that. You tried to get it last year for Brick World and like didn't get it until 2 weeks before. What do you mean?
Well,
You're part of
no
you're
need to
part of the
point
problem
fingers
here.
here.
You were literally pointing. Oh, whatever. But anyways, so I've never. So Brick Fair doesn't have a con attached to the convention hall, but Brick World does. And in the 2 times I went to Brick World, I never stayed at the one attached to the convention hall. We we always tend to elect to like get the cheaper ones that are farther away. Um, like I mean, the one for Brick World that was like what, like a 2 minute drive, maybe a 10 minute walk, and I don't think
They were like
it
in the
it
same
ruined.
like they were in the same like lot. It was just hard. It was
There was
just
like
weird.
2 parking lots
Yeah,
between
it's
it
just like
basically,
walking to it wasn't really possible. It was a weird walk. Oh no, wait, no, it
and
wasn't. At Chicago?
yeah,
Okay, I'm high as crap. No, you could walk to the con. There was like a sidewalk path that you could take. It actually wasn't that
yeah.
bad.
No, that was like 10 minutes. And the thing is, like, if you're like trying to make a con work and tight on finances, and you're like worried about staying at a hotel because it's used to be more expensive, it's not super important. But it's like I've heard it's fun if you do get to do it. But that's something we've never got to experience because last year at Brick Fair we were trying to actually stay in the con hotel. Um, Another thing is you have to book it like months in advance if you want to stay at the con hotel, like 6 months minimum, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually did it that time. Last year we like did everything by the book for Virginia, and it still did not work out at all because the hotel screwed it up or something. And like that hotel is not attached to the convention center. That one's like you walk across the parking lot convention center, and then you're basically at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, fine. And then we just went to the hotel that we always stay at. And this year we're staying at that one too because we put off getting the hotel until way too late. So basically, if you're going to stay at a con, it's not like the end of the world if you have to stay at a hotel a little farther.
No,
Especially
it's
if
not.
at least one person has a car in your group.
It's better to stay at the con hotel just because that's where all the boys are at typically, but it's not that big of a deal, especially if you're staying with your friends, then you'll be fine.
What's the max amount you would be fine with like sharing a hotel room with? Like how many people?
Well, I guess me and you should state that we typically share a room with 5 people, including ourselves. It's 5 people total. And then once for Chicago, we did 6. 6 is probably pushing it. Don't ever do more than 6.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's never really a problem numbers wise until showers. That's like the only time it's ever really a problem. If as long as people are willing to sleep on the floor.
yeah. I mean, it's also like 5 people is a good amount. I never complained with 5 people.
Yeah, as long as I'm not sleeping on the floor, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I don't like I'm an introvert and like sharing a bed with someone at a con is fine. Like it's really not that big of a deal to me. So I would say like try to get into a room and also like that's a way to deepen friendships too. Like I
Oh,
feel like
100%, yeah.
a lot of the deepening of friendships doesn't happen in the actual convention hall. Like that's like where you meet everybody and you get to know people. But like going out to dinner, hanging out
Yeah.
at hotel rooms, like that's where you deepen those friendships.
Well, you made the perfect transition that I literally wanted to talk about the world of Lego conventions outside the convention, which is, in my opinion, the best part of conventions is when you're not in it. And what I mean by that riddle, that was a weird way to say it, but the best part of conventions, in my opinion, are when you aren't at the con. It's when your lug or a group of people that you're hanging out with decide, let's go to the mall. Let's go to a museum. Let's go see a movie. Let's go out to eat. That is truly where the convention just shines, is when you're just hanging out, doing random stuff, going to the hotel rooms at night and hanging out and stuff. That 100% is where the most enjoyment, at least for me, comes from. Like, we went bowling on the last night last year, and that was one of my favorite parts of that convention.
Yeah, a lot of my memories from cons are outside the convention hall. Like, we play. This will be the first year we're actually not going to do it, but like we've always played basketball at Brick Fair, and that's been a lot of fun. Oh, last year when we went to a member of our lugs, we went to his house.
Oh my God!
And hung out, and like, what was even for food? I actually don't remember. Was it like mac and cheese, hamburgers, and stuff like that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
With barbecue.
I won't mention them because I feel like that's doxing them. But we went to.
I didn't either.
Yeah, we went to a person in our lug's house who lives near the convention, and that is still to this day my favorite. Top 3 favorite moments of any convention ever was that cookout we did where it was our friend's birthday. We're all hanging out, around the yard, and just like the whole entire lug. I think we were cooking. I think it was burgers and hot dog. No, pizza. It was pizza.
Yep, that was it.
It was pizza. We did a birthday cake for our good friend. It was just unmatched. You're just hanging out, shooting it with the boys. And then we
started you were to talk about the football game, right?
Yeah. So then we noticed there's a big old field down the road, and almost everyone goes down there, and we just start playing football.
It's just like,
and it's like the sun is
20
setting.
People too. There's so many people playing football.
It's sunset in the middle of the field. Half of us are shirtless, and we're all playing foot. Like, it's just you can't describe it. How much joy it brings me to remember that moment. That entire evening, and luckily we're doing it again this year, and I'm so freaking excited.
Yep, and yet again, not carrying expectations into this one. But I think we do have plans to do the football game.
I hope so.
Year, so
I honestly, even if we don't, I don't care. It was just being outside. I really enjoyed being outside, and I obviously everyone else agreed with me because I think when someone brought it up in the group chat, everyone was like, "Oh, we should do that again."
Well, and I think it just speaks to, like, if you go to a con and are just doing Lego stuff 24/7, I think you might get exhausted. Honestly, like, it's fun to just. Like, if you're not going to cons for the people, I don't think you're going to have as much of a fun time. Unless you're younger. Like, when I was, 15 and just went because I wanted to bring mocks, and, I still, made friends there, and that was, what I look back on very fondly is those moments, not just bringing the mock. But, going out and doing things with people, that's the fun part of the con for me, at least. Last year I went to the Air and Space Museum nearby, and we have a friend who is very, very into airplanes, and that was
he'll like if we name drop him.
Okay, it's Aaron, our Vexel builds, but he's very, very into airplanes, and it was a lot of fun just learning about stuff like that from him. And then I went to the Cubs game at Wrigley Field last year. What did we do in Atlanta? I went to the volleyball game.
Went to the Georgia Aquarium.
Yes. Oh, I went to the Georgia Aquarium and saw 2 whale sharks in person. It was insane. One of my favorite just experiences in the last year. Going out and doing stuff outside of the con is the best part of the con, as funny as that is. But there's still a lot of memories in the con to be have. At Brick Fair, there's a mini golf thing that we always do every year because it's just fun to mess around on. And going around to vendors with friends and pointing out how overpriced everything is. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Do not buy anything from a vendor ever, almost ever. It's always going to be overpriced. If you bring stuff to trade, then you can get a fair deal sometimes. I've traded in minifigs for minifigs, and I felt like I got a fair deal. So I would recommend staying away from vendors unless it's the custom ones who are making custom movie posters and the custom figures. Those are fair priced. But I would hold off until the yard sale to try to get stuff that you're looking for. And some vendors on private days will negotiate with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, ironically enough, I mainly agree. Stay away from vendors. However, I have gotten some. I got the Fire Nation ship, the Avatar Fire Nation ship, with box complete with a figs like in perfect condition for like $330, which for that
Is that
set
good?
is an incredible deal. Incredible deal. So definitely still look at vendors, but just be wary.
And it can be something to kill time. And a lot of them will have
Oh
like
yeah,
bulk bricks and bulk minifig parts, and that's fun to look through.
they're just
Uh,
it gives you something to go look at. It's always fun looking at vendors, even if you don't buy anything.
Especially if you go around with friends, it makes it more fun. And also like because then you get to like be like making fun of the prices with them too.
Yeah, or you just like see a set and you start a conversation. You're like, oh, I remember this set, and someone else is
Yep.
like, I remember it. Yeah, don't let us
Well, just,
dog
like-
on conventions too much.
Yeah.
Like the actual convention
Uh.
is still great.
Yeah, and there's stuff to do around the con hall. Like I've never done it, but there's like the bingo thing, and like there's stuff to do on the private days that cons make sure you do. I've noticed it tends to be older AFOLs, like in their 40s, who typically do that stuff. If you're like around our age, you're probably just gonna be hanging out with your friends, mucking around, doing whatever. Like last year or this year at Atlanta BrickCon, like me, Garrett, and Caleb just went over and found. It was like 1 a.m. and we were just like walking around the con hall, and then we found the Star Wars Visual Dictionary, like the white one that everybody had as a kid, and we just like looked through that, talked about sets, and like reminiscing on that. So like stuff like that. It's like the little moments in cons that you're gonna remember.
So, Aiden, I feel like we should, since we are the co-hosts of this podcast, I feel like we should talk about how we met at a Lego convention and how our entire friend group formed and all of that. I guarantee we've mentioned bits and pieces about it throughout the podcast, but I want to give like a definitive timeline how exactly we met at Brick Fair 2021. If you want to start with it, and I'll just interject at certain points.
You know what the funny thing is that
What?
I actually do not remember the moment that we met or anything, or like the first conversation we had. Like I remember like like do you remember it? I don't remember the first conversation we had. I remember like when we like all watched Indiana Jones together.
Actually, I kind of I have a few I might have a better recollection of this all. I kind of have memories. I guarantee we talked to each other through group conversation at first, but
Well, yeah.
so the way I went to Brick Fair, obviously I talked about it earlier. Didn't know many people. Knew my friend Shane, Jay, Nolan, but I knew of our friend Ethan, who used to have a Lego channel. That wasn't too big, and I always thought Ethan seemed cool. He liked Indiana Jones a lot. He liked film. We were the same age. I basically had always been confident. I was like, if I ever see this guy at a Lego convention, I bet we'd be friends. Spoiler alert, I was right. I ended up kind of negotiating my way into a conversation with Ethan, and we talked about Indiana Jones and all this crap. And me and Ethan basically, I told Ethan that our friend Jay hadn't ever seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. Ethan therefore was like, we should watch that in my hotel room. He got clarification with all his friends, which at the time is Josh, who we had on the podcast, our friend Garrett, who we've mentioned, Ryan, not M&R Productions, but our friend Lawless Bricks, and you, Aiden. And basically, me, Shane, Jay go over to their hotel room, and we all watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. Spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert, but and at this point, I wasn't like, I barely knew who you guys were at this point. But this one night, we built every Lego Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark set while watching Raiders of the Lost Ark with a friend that's never seen it before. We got pizza. It was, maybe we can put it on the Instagram. I have a really good picture of this night. It just was, it was such a core memory for me. And that's really where I met what is now known as the Daily Bulge group. And you were wondering like what our first interaction was. I think I remember it, Aiden. I think so.
I'm scared.
I'm pretty sure it was at the convention. This is before we watched Indy.
Oh no, yeah, we talked before it. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. But and there's another event I want to talk about where I feel like I became even better friends with y'all. But it was I'm sorry, my mind's all over the place. Me and you were at the booth, which was a very cramped Empire Lug booth at the time. And I think me and you talked about, we were in a group conversation about film, and then I talked about how I'm trying to go into film editing, and then you turned to me and was like, "Oh, I'm like making a short film at the time," and you talked about needing an editor, and I didn't want to edit it secretly, so I tried to deter the conversation.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Wait, that was 2021, right?
Huh? That was
That was
2021.
2021.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I just shot a short film a week before, like exactly a week before, and I like the plan. It was like a horror short film, so the plan was to get it out by Halloween. And I was like, I do not want to turn this around in a month, and I didn't actually end up finishing it until February of 2022.
Yeah.
But I could have used you, but no, I'm just kidding. It all worked out. But I have a question I want to pose to you, and that is, if somebody is like, this is the only con I can go to, and I know I can't go to them in the next few years, do you think it's actually worth it to go just for 1 year?
Oh God. Oh, that's a terrible question.
Because I just thought about that, and
I
we're
would
talking
say
about like it building over years.
I would say. Are you saying they're guaranteed no? Okay, here's the issue. You might would like, let's just pretend this person is saying this. Like they're like, I can't go. I can only go this 1 year. They'll probably go that 1 year, have such a good time, they'll force their way to going again.
Because I know very few people who only like went for 1 year and then they were done.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people that. Oh, actually, I don't. I mean, most of those people just get out of Lego, and I guess I gotta put this out there that going to a convention, it's really gonna help you if you have at least one or two friends that you at least casually know who are gonna be there. I guess we are coming at a point where like I don't really know how going to a convention would be, of going to a con, displaying just in some random area and not knowing a single soul. Like I don't necessarily understand how you would do that.
Yeah, I've never done that either, and I feel like a lot of people who do are local.
I feel like I'm going to just say this. Don't do that. Don't travel and do that. That's probably not a good idea, because then a lot of what we're saying won't apply. Because if you don't know a single soul, it's going to be a lot harder to make any friend, because you're going to completely have to come from the abyss and do it. Knowing
Well,
just two people. Oh, go ahead.
I just thought of Russell actually, and
Yeah,
so
but
we have somebody
well,
in our lug who he traveled. It was him and his family, and he just showed up and brought a Star Wars mock and put it in the Star Wars display, and we were like, I think this was Brick Fair 2021, and we were like, over at Empire like that's a really good mock. We should ask him if he wants to display with us, and he's been displaying with us ever since, and like that's how he did. So like something like that could still happen, and I think if like when I went up with my dad and my family when I was younger, like that was a fun experience, and even if I didn't know anybody, I think I would have still had fun just bringing a mock. So I think if you're younger, or if you're truly like just hell bent on I'm just gonna bring a mock and stand behind the table the entire time during the public hours, then I'd say go to a con that one time. But if you're going to like meet people and make friends, like I almost just don't see the point of it if it's not gonna last beyond that time.
yeah, I feel like it would just make you depressed.
No, that's valid.
Like I'd just be like, oh, I'm never gonna get to go to Brick Fair again. I like, yeah, no, I don't do it. But I also liked what I was originally saying. I still would recommend, if you're going for more community aspect, knowing one or two people already at the convention. And when I say knowing, like knowing enough where you can talk to them and get lunch with them, that'll make a world of difference. You only need to know one or two people, and you can network your way and become friends with a lot more. I mean, that's what happened to me.
Yeah, and like you, like I didn't like put a ton of like planning or thought into like the friends that I have now. Like this is just advice I would give. Like I just kind of showed up and it just happened. And
Or if you're just playing with a lug, that's
yes,
I will
I
change. If you're just playing with a lug, you don't need to know anyone because you're just playing with a group already, and
hmm
that makes it easier. But
well, and I've even seen like again, this is just me like observing stuff. Like when I walk past the Star Wars table, like there's people talking behind there, and that's a way to meet people. So maybe like that is a good way to like get in and meet people. I just don't know because I've never done it.
yeah, me neither. Me neither. Oh, also I should point out you don't need to be building mocks to go to a convention.
Yeah, I would say. Oh, dude, we should have had Garrett on for this because Garrett has a crazy convention story. So Garrett is like one of our close friend, and he literally like basically all the advice that we've given him, like, hey, just like try to talk to people. He didn't do any of that. Like he showed up at Brickworld Chicago fully knowing nobody, and just like walked up to like some of the most like popular people there, and just talked to them like they were normal people, and just became friends with them. And it's just so funny to me because I feel like I he didn't bring a mock. He just like showed up. He wasn't displaying with any groups. He just walked over to like Empire Lug and I think Rebel Lug also at the time, and was like, "Hey, do you guys need help setting up?" And I guess like if you're an extrovert, that's a way to get your foot in the door with people. I personally would never do that,
No,
but
well Garrett's
it is an
insane.
option. Yeah, Garrett's insane. Moving back into the sequential. That is not the sequential be like in order because I've already said it in this podcast and I have no idea.
Too late now.
Well, yeah, well we can keep it in, but like, all right, we're just gonna assume that that's right and live in ignorance. But of course, the con comes to an end at some point, and it's a I wouldn't say I've never had a con where I like left it and I was sad that I was like leaving it. As weird as that sounds, but I think it's because like 5 days is just the perfect amount of time to be there, maybe even four. Um, and like I always feel like I get enough out of a con, but leaving a con like I would always recommend leaving on Monday if you can. Leaving Sunday is not it because most cons are like end on a Sunday, and having that night to just chill, hang out with friends, relax. Like going from busy day of con to immediately driving or flying is just not my
Not the
favorite
way
thing
to
in the
do
world.
it. Not the way to do it. I think it's important to get that proper like I don't know. For me, I have left con. I've left cons where I don't mind leaving, and I have had cons where I'm like, ah, why is this ending? It just depends which convention and how good of a time I'm having. But
Also, if it's your first time going to con, go to opening and closing ceremonies, get a gist of what it's like. After that, you do not need to go to them. It is not worth your time. It's basically standing there for like or sitting there for 2 hours, hoping that your name gets pulled to win a free set. And if like that's what you're into, go right ahead. But I don't know the last time I watched an opening or closing ceremony. How about you?
I never have.
You never have?
No.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I do. Like it's fun to experience like the first time or that you're there because it's like getting the convention experience. But after that, you really don't need it.
We were
But
talking. Sorry to interject here, but we were talking about the ending of the convention, and I think one of the most eerie, and in my opinion, at least to me, saddening feelings though, is the last day of the convention, and as soon as the public ends, you hear all the metal start dropping, the metal rails start dropping, and everyone starts packing up, and I always just get a very somber feeling whenever it's like whenever I'm the last time I'm going to be at the con for that year, specifically with Brick Fair. And it happens every year. But looking back into the convention before you leave and you just see like it be completely empty and so much more lifeless, that to me is a very depressing and somber feeling. But that's
yeah,
just
no,
me.
that you hit on that perfectly. Yeah, I agree with that fully.
you just look back and you go, oh, I have to wait another year.
Yeah, because most people just go like one con,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Empire like does a good job of like countering that because we have a dinner Sunday night,
Mm-hmm. I
and I
100%
feel
agree.
like that like extends the con a bit, and everybody says goodbye to dinner. Uh, Getting proper goodbyes at a con is I think is important because you're not going to see those people for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and especially for Virginia because that's like it at Atlanta Brick Con, like I was like, all right, see you guys at Virginia, and it was like 6 months away. Like that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't bad, but like at Virginia, I'm like, I'm not gonna see these people for a full year. Like it truly, if any of you listeners like just go to like a family reunion once a year, like that's kind of what it feels like. I'd say like you just like say goodbye to like these close people that you see once a year, and then you head on your way.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything else to say on the end?
Yeah, I don't know. The ending of convention can feel fine if you've really milked it, but I think the best conventions, at least for me, you leave wanting more, which is a good thing. Um, the Empire Lug dinners at the very least. I mean, it's all different for who you display with, but the Empire Lug dinners are a great counter because you leave the convention, but you're sad. You're like, oh, it really is coming to the end, or not coming to the end. It's coming to an end, but you're like, oh, but I'm gonna go to a restaurant and eat out with all my friends, and on top of that, after that, I still get to go back to the hotel, hang out with the boys. So it's not too sad, but yeah.
Yeah, it slowly eases you into like leaving the con versus like at Brickworld last year. Convention got done at 2 and I just got in my car and left and that felt weird.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Did you guys stay and do anything? I don't even
So
know about that.
yeah, Brickworld last year, because we all drove together. That wasn't sad at all because I was excited to go freaking open up all my gifts.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, but back to what you said earlier. Don't leave the day of the convention. That is a terrible idea. Always wait the next morning to afternoon to just let it digest and ease you in, and have time to like say goodbye to all your convention buddies, and then especially have time to say goodbye to your hotel friends as well.
So we do not have any listener questions for this week because I forgot to post the Instagram story while I was camping. But we're gonna go ahead and end this episode out by talking about the cost of going to a Lego convention instead, and
Mm-hmm.
truly giving you guys an idea of how much you are going to spend if you want to go. So, what do you think we should hit on first? Probably the convention fee, because that's like the one
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
you
yeah.
you have to pay.
Something I didn't know about till I was going to a con is that you have to pay to be an exhibitor.
And some cons make it more your worthwhile than others. Like some cons give you like a free goodie bag. Almost every con's gonna give you a little brick with the name of the con, and then you can
Atlanta
like
gives you a free
collect
dinner.
those brick. They do. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, Atlanta's like the
Atlanta's
best
cheap
deal.
as well.
It's like 20-30 bucks. It's not bad at all.
Mm-mm.
So I think Atlanta's 20 or 30. I think Brick World's 100. Does that sound right? Maybe 80.
No, Brickworld's I think 100.
And then Virginia's $90, maybe 100 if you sign up early. So
Mm-hmm.
most cons will have where there's a date that you sign up by and you get like 30% off or something like that. And I always strongly recommend trying to do that. And then Brick Fair, what's fun about Brick Fair is like with your brick badge is what it's called, like the little brick you get with your name on it, and then a the con that you're at. So say have a brick on it saying like Brick Fair 2024 for this year. And some cons will use those as the way to get in, like that's your actual ID to get into it, which is kind of wild the more you think about it. But like Chicago has like a lanyard you have to wear. But at Virginia, that goodie bag also comes with you get a 2x2 custom printed tile that you get to pick like any image within reason that you want to have printed on that. Did you do one this year?
I completely forgot.
It is definitely too late, but that's all right.
Do you think so? Can I get a Wear on My Studs logo?
That would actually be really cool. I did an album from. I mean, I've been doing album covers because those work really well on 2x2s, and like if I ever want to do like a vinyl shop mock, I think it would work really well. But you could try. I mean, you can go on the website. But yeah, the convention fee it's gonna be different depending on the con. Atlanta's the cheapest, so I think Atlanta might be the most budget friendly convention once we're done breaking all this down. Um, then of course you want to take the lead on hotel rooms.
Yeah, so I feel like we should also mention travel. Depends
Oh, that's
on
true.
where you're going, but I would say majority of people don't live near a Lego convention. At least the three major ones, which the three major ones are Atlanta BrickCon in February, Brickworld Chicago in June, and Brick Fair Virginia in August. Um, so just going off the idea that you live far enough to fly, then you're gonna have to pay for a flight. And flights are truly just up in the air, but I would say most people can find probably a reasonable $300 flight, right?
Yeah, and from my experience, I fly out of Denver, so this could probably change depending on where you live. But Atlanta is the cheapest. I spent $100 round trip. That was crazy. And then Chicago's second cheapest. I spent like actually I've never flown to Chicago, but I've looked into it, and it would have been like 150 to 200. And then Virginia is the most expensive for me at least. That's like $300 to fly into. So yeah, like $300. Like go into it the mindset of paying $300, but it might be a little more, a little less. How much do
Yeah.
you pay flying out of
Um,
Atlanta?
well, luckily flying out of Atlanta is very convenient. I almost never have connecting flights. I think I typically for Virginia never pay more than 250. But if you want to, going higher is always better than going lower. Overdoing it is always good because then you can use that extra money that you have for Lego.
How much suitcase space do you think you should bring?
It depends. I don't know how to describe how big of a suitcase I bring.
Is it a check bag suitcase size or a carry-on size?
Carry on. I always do carry on because typically, at least with Delta, you can do a bag that you can put in the overhead, and then you have your backpack. And I typically can fit everything I need to fit in those two. I don't bring mocks though, so if you bring mocks, you'll probably need to check a bag.
If you bring Mox, I fly Southwest every time I go to Virginia. Um, and this year's the most I've spent on tickets. It was like 300. Usually it's cheaper than that. And you get two check bags, and it's like big check bags. So this year I'm bringing like two Imperial Light Cruisers sealed to sell to somebody, and I'm flying that in a check bag. So like that's, and then I have another whole check bag that I get to fill. So if you're bringing Mox, I would recommend flying an airline that is good with check baggage. I've never had a problem with Southwest. I flew Frontier going into Atlanta, and I only had a backpack, and that was an interesting experience at a Lego con. That will definitely make you not spend money for sure. If you're worried about like wanting to not spend money at yard sales and stuff, uh, do not bring a big suitcase at all. Cause I had a backpack that had all my clothes in it, like toothbrush, toothpaste, all that stuff, and I bought Pirates of the Caribbean, the water mill, whatever it is, set, and the Naboo Starfighter, and that barely fit, and that's because I brought other stuff to like sell. So yeah, I don't think you need a ton of space unless you're bringing a mock necessarily.
Yeah. So flight 300, convention fee probably, I don't know. Do you want to average the convention fee around 90 to 100?
Yeah.
Um,
Right now, Atlanta, the way I did Atlanta would have only been 200 at this point, but everywhere else is 400.
well, let's go with the more major ones because that's
Yeah.
realistically what we. Let's just go with Brick Fair because that's the one we're talking about the most.
Well, yeah, I'm just given a broad scope of
Yeah.
like
So
it can be different depending on what you're willing to sacrifice.
yeah, I mean, of course, this can always be cheaper the cheaper you go. But me and you already kind of go pretty cheap for conventions. Well, sort of. Anyways, so you have what were we said? We said 300 for a flight, 100 for the fee of the convention. Next, you got to worry about is hotel. Hotel can again vary massively. Like if you stay with 5 to 6 other people, then the hotel won't be that much. But if you only stay with 3 other people, then you're paying a little bit more. I would say on average, if you're staying with just at least 2 to 3 other people, you can typically get a hotel, specifically at Virginia, probably about 150, maybe 170
Per person, you're saying?
Yeah, one per person for
staying all 5 nights.
All 5 nights. Would you say that's correct? Like 170 to 150?
This is the most I've ever spent on a hotel this year, and that's because we only have 4 people. And I think we're spending 120, right? Each?
No, we're doing 150 each.
There?
Well, it's different for different people because we have different people staying the amount of nights. But I know for me and you, it's 150.
Yeah, so this year for Virginia, we have one night where it's just 3 of us, and that's bumping up the cost a little. Yeah. So the more people you stay at the hotel will be cheaper.
Yeah. So if you want to just say 150, we'll just go 150 for the hotel.
Yeah, I like 150.
In my opinion, food 150 as well for 5 days.
Let's think. So you're probably gonna breakfast is gonna be at your hotel. Nobody really goes out and eats breakfast at a con, at least at our age. Maybe like when you're older and wake up at 6 a.m. But most of the time at a con, you're gonna be waking up. Everybody's gonna be like actually out of the hotel room again around our age, around like 10, maybe 11, depending on the day. Because public doesn't even come in the con until on Saturday till like 10, I think. Maybe, yeah, I think it's like 10. Sidetrack. I recommend getting there when the public comes. If it's your first con ever, being there for the rope drop with the public is kind of fun. Like experiencing
I've never been
the first
there.
time. Really?
No.
Oh, we should do that this year. I mean, it's more fun if you have box to experience, but it's still like fun to like see that and like see like everybody rush in. Like it's not vital, but it's something that's fun.
We should do it this year. I've never done it.
Yeah, I'm down. As long as I go to bed not at like 3 a.m. the night before. But which will probably end up happening. But anyways, most hotels are gonna have free breakfast. I know the Brickworld Hotel doesn't, the Renaissance, like the one that's built in. But I think all the other ones we stayed at have had free breakfast. Am I wrong on that?
I think they have, but like I typically don't even factor in breakfast. Like you just do early lunch, early dinner.
So let's say you're a basic convention goer, you're gonna get Chick-fil-A for lunch, which is like what literally everybody does no matter what con you're at. And then you get like a more expensive dinner. So that's like $30, $35 per day. So yeah, like I don't want to say like 170 because you might go out for like a nicer dinner at some point.
I say 150 because most fast food is 10 to like $12. You usually ain't spending more than 10 to $12 on fast food.
I wonder if prices are different around you because it's 12 to 15 around me.
Yeah, but at Virginia, I know it's typically like $11. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I think 150 to 170 is fine. I think I always get away with 150 easy at conventions. Like I also typically eat, like you can just do waters for your dinners at night, which shouldn't be a big deal.
Yes, one of the best ways to save money at a con is getting water instead of soda, unless it's like part of your meal. But that is a good way. Like you save about $20 across the whole week,
serious,
maybe more doing that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You could go to 150 with that. Like, so you got 150 for food, and those are all your necessity costs are already through. Now you can go to the convention and you can live. Like you can have food.
What are we at for?
So
money?
I said 150 for food, 150 for hotel. These are on the higher ends typically.
Plus $300 flight.
$300 flight, and then $100 for the actual cost of.
Are we at $750 already?
Yeah, I mean this isn't crazy. This is legitimately. Yeah. This is again though, if you go all 5 days, and you don't try to save money. You can always get a cheaper flight typically, and it's all variation. We're going higher budget here. But 750 is
How much would you recommend to spend on like Lego stuff at the con?
This is completely dependent on who you are. I am a man that loves to collect Lego, but like for the first year, I only brought like maybe probably only about like $220 to spend on Lego, and I was fine. I was happy with everything I got.
I think so. I'm gonna go con by con for me. So Brick Fair 2018, I was 14, so I think I only spent $50 the entire con on Lego, and that was because I think I got a Slave Leia minifigure.
Oh
And,
my
like,
god. You were
'cause-
14.
Cause, well, I thought it was funny. It's not for other reasons, but anyways.
That's the intro right there.
Yep. Out of that, I got like a custom figures. Like, I would bring money if you're like low amount of money. I would get stuff you can only get at the con, like custom figures and stuff like that. Like custom movie posters. Like if you're low budget, I wouldn't mess with getting sets and minifigs. I would just get cool things that you can really only get at cons. But Brick Fair 2019, I think I spent $30. Oh, I did a parts draft. We didn't talk about parts drafts at all. I feel like they're kind of dying, but for those of you who don't know, a parts draft is basically you and it varies. I've done parts draft with 3 people to 20, but everybody gets like one of a set, and then you dump that set out and divide all the pieces up into like their different types, and it's literally like a fantasy football draft, but with Lego parts. Like you go through and just pick parts, and those could be fun to do. Like I just do those because they're fun, not even just to get pieces most of the time. But I haven't done one of those in a bit. But I did that and like spent $20 at the yard sale in 2019. So like when I was a kid, I was not spending much money. I was spending like $50. And then 2021 was the first year I really spent like a decent amount of money. I think I spent like 150 at a yard sale, maybe lower than that. And then 2022 I spent 150. 2021 I actually do not recall getting a single thing other than custom stuff at the yard sales. That might have been $50. So like you can go to a con and only spend $50. Like I've done it for 3 cons. The 2022 I spent 150. And with that I got 2 sealed sets, a Spider-Man minifigure, and some Jurassic Park minifigures, and like all that was about $300 of value. So you are gonna get good value, and if you bring lower amounts of money, I feel like you look for that value more. So that's also something to consider. But last year is the most I spent at a con yard sale. At Brick World, I spent let's see, I got a $100 Lord of the Rings set. I wish I didn't pay this much, but $120 for that Isla de Muertos set sealed. Do not get that set sealed if you're considering it. It's not worth it. So probably 400. No,
Yeah.
300. And then 400 at Virginia. And I don't think you need more than that. I'd say that's the max I would bring is 400.
I think
Because
I
I
disagree.
got a lot for that. Really?
Well,
You're going to
again,
drop a full band
this-
at a con?
This is all depending. If we're going on average, in my opinion, you can have $200 and be very happy. Most people only need to buy 1 or 2 sets, retro sets. They'll be happy. They'll get a few vendor items. You'll be thrilled. However, if you're like me and like to spend, I have brought. I think I was really properly saving the year of 2022, and I'd saved up like almost $600 of just pure spending money. And that's how I was able to get that $400 Batcave, and I still got some stuff on the side. So
Well,
you
something
can
to
spend,
also
you can
consider
bring more.
is that you can sell Lego at cons too. And that's like I bought across Chicago and Virginia last year. I spent $700, but I also sold about $500 of Lego. So it kind of balanced out. So if you have the suitcase space, I always recommend bringing Lego. If you like know people are gonna be there, ask them if they're interested. Like I've sold about $600 already, and I haven't even made it to the con yet. And that's like it makes you feel a lot less bad buying stuff too. Like you could justify it in your head, at least from my experience. I've been able to do that. So this can also balance out like all of this, all of these costs can be balanced out by selling stuff. Like yet again, our friend Garrett, he won a competition and got the UCS AT-AT at Burger Chicago, and
That's
then he
crazy.
sold it. So he made money going to a Lego convention, and like we have friends who make money going to Lego cons of how much stuff they sell. So that's also something to take into account. Is you can kind of sell your way out of these expenses.
But would you say $200 though is a good amount of spending money? Like that's a perfect amount, maybe.
Um, I'd say minimum $50. I'd say maximum. I still think. I mean, it depends. Like I don't spend money on Lego that much outside of cons on purpose, so I can just have like free reign at cons and not feel bad about it. Because I'm like, this is what I'm spending money on. So if you
Yeah.
do that, like this year, I don't know what my budget's gonna be this year, but we'll have to figure that out when I.
My budget's gonna be tight this year, but I also am
What
not looking for much.
what do you think what do you think yours is gonna be this year?
My full spending budget on just Lego will probably be, uh, I'm not gonna try to make it more than it needs to be, but I'm probably trying to look to only spend about 250, but I'm willing to spend up to 350
Well, and
if
you
the
you
set
have
calls for it.
you have most of the bigger sets you want too. So
That's true.
that's something to take into account is so I would say ratio your spending money to your suitcase space. That would be like my advice. But a good happy medium is like $200, and you could get like, I mean that's four $50 sets if you wanted to break it down like
And
that.
and you can find it. The good thing about yard sales is you can haggle and you can find deals. It is very possible.
Would you
So
say your
don't let
Batcave is the best yard sale deal you've got?
dude, that's like the best Lego thing deal I've ever gotten in my entire life. That was a ridiculous deal.
So
But
for me at yard sales, I'm a little more picky than Brennan, and I'll haggle a little more than you. I feel like,
you will.
uh, and so I think almost everything I've bought at a yard sale was 50 to 60% of its actual value. Um,
Yeah.
and then what was nice is if you get home and you're like, crap, I overbought, then you could just sell it and make money or break even. So
Yeah.
it also like depends entirely on your spending philosophy and what you're willing to spend. And like if you're looking, I would recommend this though. Don't go into a con looking for one set. Like you are not
No,
gonna
that's
have,
I
and
mean
it's
that's
gonna
what we
stress you
mentioned
out
earlier.
more. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think if we are gonna have to land on a number here, I think 200 is a good number. I feel like that gives you some breathing room to like make a few smaller purchases and maybe one big one if you want.
So what's our total cost then for a Lego convention?
$900, right?
Yep. And that
But
I would
hold up, we're forgetting something. You're gonna go out and do things outside of the con, like whether that be bowling, going to movie theater, like there's gonna be stuff that your friends are gonna want to do outside of a con, and I
Sure.
would add in an extra $100 for that probably. Like
I
it'll
would
be less than
disagree.
that maybe. I'd say 50 to 100,
I'd say
somewhere in
50.
that.
50 definitely. Maybe you want to
So
land on 75?
sure. I mean, I'm trying to think like what I've done. Like I went to the Cubs baseball game. Those tickets were like $25. Bowling was like $25.
Yeah.
So it depends how many times you go out, but almost everything is like $25 when you go out to do something. So let's say you want to go out
75.
3 times, it's $75. So you're
Yeah.
so our total is $975 then. So it's
Yeah.
barely under $1,000 to go to a con.
Yep.
Now, for at Atlanta this past year, I want to like compare my because I remember my numbers from Atlanta. I spent. We never got a nice meal there, and we got one of the dinners for free. Also, if you go to con for a shorter amount of time, it's gonna be cheaper. So Atlanta, I only went Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I had 5 fast food meals. So let's just say that's like $20 times 5. Well, you just go on the higher end. So that's $100 on food that I spent because you get a free meal there. My flights round trip were $100, but I only had a backpack, so you got to keep that in mind. So $200, and then I went to the hotel. How much was the hotel? It was like $100, I think, because there's only 3 of us.
I don't remember how much it was, but I don't remember it being that expensive.
I think it was 100 because I had to pay Garrett back 100. So then we're at 300 there, and then me and Garrett went to the Georgia Aquarium. That was like an extra $50, so $350, and then I spent a little over $50 on Lego. So like I did that whole con for $400. So you can go budget. If you're only going to one con a year, I would not recommend it. I would just spend the money to make it well worth your time. But if you're going to multiple, you can budget some of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy because like 400 is still, and it's like a ton of money just normally.
Yeah.
Like, it's not some cheap, and that's like something I have to stress is, and we have friends that don't want to or aren't going to go to Virginia now just because it's you have to break the bank. The best way to do it is just to properly save, in my opinion. I would always, for the longest time, I would literally start in, I think, like March or April, and every week I just put $50 aside of every paycheck towards the convention, and then that's how I saved up a ton of money for it. So you just got to really prepare, because it's totally possible. You got to be willing to put away the money and properly budget for it. But I think, Atlanta for me, especially because I can just drive there, is a very cheap convention. I don't think I also don't spend a lot on sets there because there's just not as much available. I don't think I ever spend more than $400 on Atlanta Brick or Con. But a brick fair, yeah, I mean, a brick fair, it's really realistic to spend it guaranteed $800. And $975 is not that far fetched. That sounds like a legitimate number for Lego.
And then
convention.
if you don't buy any Lego, but still want to go out and do things with friends, that's $775. $775, yeah. And I mean, we talk about all the time like selling off parts of your Lego convention, and I think if this is something that you really want to do, I would yet again take a look at your sets and be like I don't think there's a single set in my collection I would not sell to go to a con. I don't know how you feel about that.
No,
that's a hard question.
That's a complex question. They kind of go hand in hand. My favorite set that I own, or second favorite, is due to the fact that I went to a Lego convention. I think I would have my limits. I wouldn't sell my Batcave to go to Brick Fair.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I also know I can go to Atlanta, so like it would kind of be the saving grace. But yeah. I would sell a lot of stuff to go, and I think
you don't need to purge everything, but I feel like there are sets that you wouldn't usually sell. But like if it's the extra bit to put you over the hump, it's I'd say it's worth it. Like don't purge your entire collection, but if you really want to try to find money, it's a good way to do it.
You can definitely budget for it. You gotta really prepare. Know you're going in advance will help a ton. And I just think maybe don't go all 5 days. You don't need to. Yeah, I like doing it, but you can go on Thursday. That's what I did my first time, just to save cost.
I wouldn't recommend Friday through Sunday, but I think going in on Thursday is fine.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you don't really miss a ton. I just like it because it's a day to acclimate. Is what I always treat it as. It's just the extra
day I need to, in my opinion, get the fullest. To not like whenever I would go on Thursdays is the conventions that I'd really feel sad leaving, because I'd be like I really just felt like I needed that extra day. When I go on Wednesday, I kind of feel like okay, I got my fill. Like I'm still really sad, but I at least feel like I got the most of it. But yeah, I mean, Lego conventions are incredibly expensive. Like, incredibly expensive. But I don't regret spending as much as I do to go ever. I've never regretted spending the money I have to go to a convention. I don't know about you, but it never once... And I also think I should point out that I feel like you feel it less because you get your flight in advance and you pay for the convention in advance. So like it's not all the money comes out all at once, which helps. You know, you get your flight a good few months beforehand, then you're not going to really feel it closer to the convention, if that makes sense. Do you get what I'm talking about?
If you show up at a con with $225 in your bank account, you'll be able to go out and eat food and go have fun experiences. You probably just won't be buying much Lego when you get there.
Yeah. So it's a ton of money when you add it all up together. But if you divide it up over the year, you feel it a lot less, and it doesn't hit as hard. It's not like you're just $1,000 whoosh gone from your bank account. It's like you buy your plane in April or May, and you rent your hotel, and you know you do that June or whatever, and you pay for the convention in June as well. So by the time when the convention actually rolls around, you roll up with $300 to $400 in your bank account. Well, now it doesn't feel like it's as big of an expense. At least that's how I've always viewed it.
No, I agree with that.
You just divide it up smartly, and it won't hit as bad.
Yeah, I mean, you just save $100 a month for 12 months, and you have the extra money to spend. And I know that like if you're like financially tight, I wouldn't stress going to a Lego con, especially if you don't have like close friends that you're trying to meet up with. I think the people is what makes the money worth it, not the Lego, is what I would want to emphasize when it comes to cost. So make sure that that's the reason you're going. I don't think spending that much money just to be in a room full of Lego is really worth it. I think it's the people that make it worth it.
Well, this has been an episode I've been very much looking forward to recording. If you actually listened all the way through, thanks. Will we have an episode next week?
No, because we will be having the time of our lives at Brick Fair.
Yeah, so I guess we will be taking a small break. Next episode will probably be a lot of recap on our adventures at Brick Fair, which hopefully all go well and safe. And thanks for listening. If anyone actually does listen this far, hope we were of some help.
Do I say bye now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a better outro.
Bye.
Bye.